I was born with a little bit of blind confidence, So I'm like, I see that. I know I can do
I
it.
could do
I
that.
got it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh wow, they're making it look so much more easier than it really is. Then it's like, oh, like reality hits.
Good morning. I'm Molly, and I'd like to welcome you to The Angle, a GRS series highlighting our instructors shaping the 2026 class season. Let's go.
So I'm Liam Powers. I'm teaching the wax carving class this year, and yeah, it's going to be similar to last year's class, but with pendants. Last year, I think we hit on something pretty amazing, which was doing one piece per day. I have four pieces planned out: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then I bring my own stones. The first day of the class, I let all the students pick out a couple stones. And throughout the week, they can start looking at these stones and starting to think up ideas for the Friday design. So Friday, the fifth piece that we do will be the student's own design utilizing the stones that they chose. Each piece is going to be focused on a different style, different techniques. Some might be more angular, geometrical, more precise. Others going to be a little more organic, more rounded, more flowy, just to kind of get a little taste of everything that you can do with the wax. So as we're making these pieces throughout the week, the students are going to, hopefully get inspired and kind of their mind will open up a little bit. Oh, I didn't know you could do this with the wax. Maybe
Yeah.
I can use the stone that I choose and design something in order to utilize this style or this skill. So by the end of the week, come like Thursday, they'll be able to design a piece thinking about what we've learned. So yeah, then Friday will be the day that everybody's going to be designing their own piece, and I will be going around helping each student individually accomplish that design. And that design can then be, if it's not finished on Friday, they can take it home and finish it or whatever. But the idea is that they're going to leave with something of their own design with the stones that I gave each student, and they could potentially cast that, finish it,
Cast it.
have a finished piece of jewelry that they can keep themselves, or they can sell, or they can create a silicone mold or a production line, who knows, but to be able to leave the course with not only the new skills and kind of opening your mind to what you can really do with wax, but actually leave with a product, like a piece that you can actually do something with when you get back.
Hmm. Describe your teaching style. What does your classroom look like for someone coming in?
I really like to get to know each student on a personal level. I want the classroom to feel less like a classroom, traditional
Hmm.
classroom. But I want everybody to leave feeling like they not only gained a lot of new skills and techniques, but really left with either friends or contacts, that could be utilized later on, years from now in your career. That's what I really valued from the classes that I've taken, and the Grandmaster's course at GRS was I still talk to some of these students today,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
asking for advice or just making friends, in the industry. So that's the environment I try to create in my classroom where, I last year we went out for, taco night, and like it's not only just in the class, like let's go get a meal, let's go whatever. I also want them to feel like they're also getting my undivided attention as well, because you realize everybody is at a different skill level. I do like structure. There's obviously you need some structure. There's a lot of advantage to having that kind of structure on your day-to-day curriculum and everything like that. But I also want to open the classroom up a bit to where the students feel comfortable coming up to me and say, can you show me this technique? Or can you help me
Hmm.
do this? Alexander did that a lot. Like students could just come up and be like, will you teach me this stone setting? Or can you teach me how to do this layout? if you incorporate that kind of teaching style into your courses, the students are really going to feel like their personal questions were answered throughout the week, so they're going to leave feeling like those expectations were met, and to get the
Mhm.
most out of the course as possible.
There's been some discussion about the different teaching styles, like, having students bring their work up to you versus walking around. Do you kind of do a little bit of both? Do you prefer that they just bring it to you so that you can give them real critique?
Um, it's definitely a little bit of both. I'm constantly getting up and walking around, and
Hmm.
I just go bench to bench to bench to bench. I'm always peeking over people's shoulders.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh, because yeah, maybe,
Oh,
maybe
how's it
some people
going?
don't really, maybe they do have a question about something like, ooh, that doesn't look right. But I don't necessarily want to go up and like, highlight what I'm doing
Hmm.
here. So I definitely try to make a point walking around the class, bench to bench every day for sure.
Talking about learning styles, let's talk about your history. What kind of courses have you taken? Where have you learned from? How did you get into the industry?
Started with a beginning jewelry making class in Northern California, like just a community college there. I had always done various art forms, drawing and sculpting and whatever. Something that I was considering doing was architecture as well. I always kind of liked that planning and engineering kind of part of a subject. With jewelry making, it kind of just hit on everything for me.
Clicked.
I
Hmm.
also collected, crystals my whole life. I was in the driveway just picking up crystals, and going to the beach and coming back with bags of rocks and like putting them in the bathtub in the water and just be like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
it's amazing. So it kind of just hit on everything for me, from the drawing to the sculpting to like the technical part, getting the moving parts, the little mini architectural sculptures that you could then wear, So it just clicked with me. And then I made my first piece and my friend offered to pay me to make one for him. And then that was kind of it, you know.
Hmm.
Once I realized that I could start making money with it, then I was like, well, this is perfect. So then from there, I did that all the way up to the advanced class there, and then flew over to Italy to take some advanced courses, went to a couple different schools in Florence, Italy. That was incredible. Then did the Grand Masters with Alexander at GRS.
You mentioned you bring stones. You do lapidary work too. So did you learn that in Italy or did you take a specialized course in the States?
I started doing, what was that? I want to say that was like 2019. I went out to Dalen Hargrave's place, his rich, and that's where I first got the basics down. And then I did an online course with Mark Hashnu, and I'm planning on going to Italy again to do a more advanced course with Tesoro. I don't know if you know this faceter out here, Ramon Tesoro. He's
Uh-uh.
amazing. He's very precise. He's all the precision cutting and things like that. That's something that's really exciting now is yeah, the faceting and the lapidary part of it, because then you can really create with the wax carving and the stone carving and cutting, the level of custom that you can make in a piece is pretty incredible. You can really just draw whatever you want, the stone size, shape, whatever, and then you can also carve the wildest shapes with the wax as well. So there really won't be any constraints.
So obviously you're hoping to push your lapidary skills. What specifics are you wanting
Mm.
to learn on that? And what's another skill that you're hoping to learn in the future or want to still learn?
Yeah, the faceting and the carving, I would love to have more time to just play around with that and learn some more techniques with that. There's still so much, which is crazy after 25
Yeah.
years that, I feel like
There's always something.
there's always something. There's always something. So enameling, I've done a little bit of
Hmm.
enameling. Maybe it's just living in Europe now and you see enamel jewelry in the stores here in the shops. It's a little more common here, I feel like. Also, I feel like it's getting a little more popular these days as well. So I'd love to spend some more time learning about enameling.
Let's not gloss over that either. You're not in the States, you're in Portugal. How has that changed your work since moving.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. I mean, as far as inspiration goes, there's inspiration everywhere here, as far as, the artwork, the architecture, it's just surrounding you here. So that's something incredible. That's one of the reasons why we moved out here too, is it really is just so inspiring to be here.
Are you still staring at your bench? Well, you're in luck because today's sponsor is Inspiration Station. Because sometimes the hardest part of creating is figuring out what the heck to create. Whether you're studying architecture, wandering through nature, or living with a fashion designer who has very strong opinions about proportions, Inspiration Station is here to help, featuring a carefully curated collection of arches, leaves, textures, patterns, and the occasional suspiciously stylish design idea, all in one place. Perfect for jewelers, engravers, and anyone currently staring at a block of wax, waiting for inspiration to strike. Inspiration Station, because staring at your bench counts as research, but only for so long.
And then as far as the work itself, I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I work less.
Really?
I work, you know what I mean? So people really enjoy their quality of life here, you know? It was really hard getting used to, honestly, at first. So many random bank holidays,
Mhm,
and the entire month of August is just closed. Like you just can't
mhm.
you can't do anything in the whole month of August. And that's kind of not just in Portugal, but like Europe in general, I feel like, there's like, nope, this is our time. We are going to enjoy the sun, spend time with the family. Work can wait until September. So we tried fighting that a little bit, the first couple years, but now we're like, oh, you know what? This is actually pretty nice. And like even the weekends,
Yeah.
like I'll put in some weekend sessions and some late night sessions here and there, but not even close to what I was doing in the States, because you just kind of get into a different rhythm here where there is a healthy separation from
Mhm.
the work and the family life and everything. So that's been a huge positive, I think.
Yeah. Blessing
Yeah.
for your family and your
Yeah.
boys for sure.
Yeah.
You pick up the boys and take them to school, and then you guys have your school holidays and everything. So, how do you balance your time between all that, between the holidays and being closed in August?
You just have to have a routine, right? I mean, if you're working for yourself and you're your own boss, it's up to you to really put
Hmm.
in the structure and get the discipline to be consistent. And my wife, Luna, she's the fashion designer, but she's freelance now. It's up to us to put our schedule together. So
Hmm.
it's really just about making that structure and keeping that consistency.
How does your teaching style differ between your apprentice, who you have for a long period, versus one short week at Glendo?
I mean, obviously you can just take so much more time, right?
Hmm.
I'm able to kind of maybe show one specific skill and then just say, hey, let's just work on that,
Hmm.
for a day, 2 days, 3 days, even the week, depending on what needs to get done in the studio. Like right now, she's just learning how to engrave. And I have these three pieces that I'm making. They're a set. So each piece is going to be the same. And all the backs need some background removal. So I have them just set up, taught her how to do the background removal, what gravers to use, everything like that. On the first piece, I did, half of a half. I think she'll probably be done in a couple days, but it's pretty much the whole week, just doing
Hmm.
the background removal. So by the end, she's gonna know how to get that material out really, really well, cleaning up those edges, doing the stippling, so she has like a whole week just to practice that.
Do you feel like you've picked up anything like having to kind of condense the material at GRS? Like, okay, this is a really good way of teaching this. Or do you see like the flip side of it, like, oh, this is a skill that can't be rushed and it's really beneficial to practice this over and over again?
What I've learned anyway with all the courses that I've taken is like, rather than having the expectation to come into this course and be like, okay, I'm coming here and I'm gonna leave knowing how to do this specific technique perfectly. That's not how I go into my courses anymore. Like when I go do any kind of course, I go in and I want to learn as many different things as I can within that period, because it usually is like a 5 day course, rather than like a 2 month, 3 month intensive thing. So I'll tell my students, look, don't worry about making this perfect right now. I want you to understand the concept, understand how you get there. And as long as you know the steps to do it now, you can go home and practice that technique as much as you want. You're just here to learn that technique and the steps to get to that finished point. But don't get caught up on making it perfect, and don't get upset if it doesn't look exactly how it should right now today, because you've only been doing it for an hour and a half, right? So
Yeah.
just come into the course and just try to get as much knowledge as you can with those 5 days, and then go back to your studio and just practice those until you master them. That's how I do my courses when I take it, and that's kind of how I want to give the knowledge and teach my courses.
What's something that when you were learning you struggled with that you make sure to like really cover for your students?
I mean, I kind of want to say everything because, I also want to master everything as quick as possible. So
Mhm.
I also got frustrated learning new things. I was born with a little bit of blind confidence. So I'm like, I see that. I know I can do
I
it.
can do
I
that.
got it,
Yeah.
So when you come to a class and you're like, oh wow, they're making it look so much more easier than it really is. Then it's like, oh, like reality hits. It's a little frustrating.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
over time, you just realize that I mean, that's just how everything is. So I try not to let that deter me or distract me or get me down. I expect everything to be difficult. I want everything to be difficult, in the beginning,
Hmm.
because I want to feel like I'm getting better, and I want to feel accomplished that once you've mastered that, it's gonna feel really good. So it's just like being honest with yourself, and being okay with saying, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. This is really bad. Trust me, it's gonna be perfect one day.
Do you feel like it's better to learn wax carving early on in your jewelry career, or do you feel like it's something that you can really kind of pick up anywhere in your career path?
I think you could pick it up anywhere. I mean, for me, I didn't start carving wax until midway through my career.
Hmm.
So I've been making jewelry for 25 years now. I didn't actually start carving wax until halfway through,
Hmm.
around like 2012, something like that. And for me, it was a game changer, because I had been sketching out these ideas and these designs on paper and then trying to create them with all the fabrication skills that I had learned. And they would never truly come out to what I was trying to design, what I was trying to create. Even if I had this idea in my mind, I would have to alter it on paper, because I knew that it wasn't possible to make these shapes or these
Mm.
forms or whatever. And then once I started carving the wax, I was like, this is what I was missing. And that's just personally for my type of jewelry and my style of jewelry making and my designs. It was like night and day. All of a sudden, I was able to really create the pieces that I had in mind, that I was sketching out, because I needed that material. I needed to create these shapes and these pieces that, fit together in a certain way. You could try to create some of these pieces with fabrication, but you either can't, or it's just going to take a really long time. So obviously you can use CAD, to make these kind of shapes and forms, but which I have nothing against CAD. It's just another tool that you can
Uh-huh.
utilize. But I really like the process of working with my hands and making
Hmm.
everything with my hands. I love carving wax, just the process of it. For me, it was a game changer.
I would think visually having it in your hands would allow you to make like small details and cater it as you go too versus CAD. Like, yes, you can design it and get very fractional on measurements and everything, but it's still like, there's a difference between holding it physically and seeing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that is that's a great point. That actually makes me think something that's so cool about carving wax with the process. Because even though I am able to create my designs almost exactly how I envision them, normally I'll end up adjusting the design as I'm carving it because,
Yeah.
like you said, you have the piece in your hand and you're taking it down step by step and making those shapes. As you're looking at it, you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, this stone's going to look better over here, or maybe this should come in a little bit more. And so you're making these micro adjustments as you're carving the piece, which you wouldn't really be able to do in the CAD because you would just make that design, it prints out exactly what you had drawn out initially. You don't have
Hmm.
that process of like seeing it go from a block to the final product where you realize, oh, actually now that I'm seeing it in its physical form, it would actually look better changed over here or a little more
Hmm.
slanted or whatever. And I forgot to mention one thing that I'm going to be doing this year in the course is I'm going to be designing some pieces that are going to need the gravers more. So
Hmm.
using the gravers rather than all the carving tools and files and things like that. But I'm going to show the students how you can actually use the gravers to get like really fine details in the wax also. Um, and hopefully show some custom carving tools as well. So that's
Hmm.
something new that's going to be this year as well.
So you do kind of have all encompassing, like you do the fabrication, the soldering, you do stone setting, you do engraving, you do the wax carving, like you do all of it. How does your work day, like break it into chunks? How do you divide your time amongst the different disciplines?
Man, well, you just have to take it step by step, right? Whatever needs to get done that day. I mean, it also depends on how many pieces you're making. Like I said, right now I'm doing a 3-piece series. So it's really just kind of taking all 3 pieces every day and moving them down the line together step by step. If I'm just making a one-off piece, it'll be the design table, putting my earphones on, just, music really, and just like shutting off the rest of the world. I have this old light table that I use. Depending on how long the design takes, sometimes it comes out real quick. Sometimes it could be a day or two or whatever,
Hmm.
depending on the piece. Transferring that design to the wax, the carving process, then the casting, and just moving it down until the end, engraving, setting, laser, all the stuff.
Do you cast in-house, Liam, or do you send it off to a casting house?
I don't cast in house yet, but I have a
Yet.
I have a feeling that this is the year. This is the year that I'm like, because that's one thing being in Europe is like, I don't know if it's maybe just here in Portugal, but it's hard to find a really consistent,
Good
solid
casting.
caster. The really good ones are kind of taken, like they kind of reach like a customer cap and they're like, okay, we're good. Like we don't want any more customers. I've convinced a couple casting houses here to cast my stuff, but the consistency is just not really there that I had in the States.
Mhm.
And even if it was, I still ship things back to the States, the really high end pieces to cast, but you lose all that time, the shipping time, the waiting time,
Mhm.
and then of course, there's like always a chance that the piece might come back and it's not perfect and you need to do it again. So I really that's the missing link here in my studio is the casting equipment, but I feel like that's going to be coming this year for sure. I'm ready.
That's exciting.
Yeah, very.
Exciting and scary.
Yeah.
Have you ever done like I'm assuming you did casting before in college and have you
Yeah.
ever done it before?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've done some casting
that's a
before,
pretty
but
cool process.
not enough to feel confident enough to cast like the high end pieces. But I want to get there with that. I want everything to be done in house. I just
Mhm.
love being able to do every part of the process here. And that's kind of the last thing. And then also enameling, like I'm also planning on getting like a kiln and stuff. So I just want it all. I just want it all.
I get that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
No.
that. How are you influenced?
Comes from everywhere. If I'm working with a client, then there's definitely some specific parameters that usually need to be incorporated. Some people will just come to me and say, "Hey, I love what you do. Just make me a ring. I want a ring in your style. You have creative freedom. Go." And then, you'll have other clients that are very specific on what they want. So that changes the process a little bit. I mean, as far as inspiration goes, it's just everything. I mean, we're consuming so much media all the time now. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I see so many incredible pieces of art. I see amazing architecture. I mean, even cars, planes, anything can inspire. So
Mhm.
I can just see one certain piece of a building on the facade or whatever, and that'll just kind of trigger something. Oh, maybe I can like incorporate that. That would be really cool as like a bracelet links. And then that kind of just goes into the back of the mind and it
That's what
maybe
I was gonna ask is does it just get tucked back there or do you have lots of notebooks or do you keep notes on your phone?
Yeah, all of that. Keeping notes, writing things down, sketching things down, taking pictures. I have like album in my
Hmm.
phone that's like all inspo pictures. And then sometimes the piece will just come. I'll see the thing, inspire this, and I'll be like, okay, I know exactly what I can do with this. Or
Hmm.
sometimes it'll just be in there and it won't come out for like years. But somehow it's just been like working in the back of your subconscious, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is
Ah,
exactly
yeah.
inspired by the thing that I saw 5 years ago, and now it's finally come. It's pretty wild. It's
There
kind of
it
it's kind of all over the
is.
place, honestly. Yeah.
What's your favorite piece that you have created to date?
Oh man. Ooh. That's hard. One of the last pendants that I made for this brand I really, really liked how that came out. It's kind of a newer style that I developed. It's not so sharp and angular. It does have pieces that kind of fit within each other. All platinum, gold, emerald with some inlay. It kind of like had a little bit of everything. I love it when I'm able to use a little bit of everything that I've learned over the years in one piece. That's always really satisfying. As far as like complexity, it's something that I'm just like, I look at it and my own mind is blown that I actually did that thing. There's like a couple pieces that I've made that I'm like, oh my God, like I don't even know if I would want to do that again. It's like, oh my God, that took so long and it was so hard. I hand carved a watch band for an AP, and I hand carved all the links. Like I created a custom
Mm, I
band, and
remember you
like
talking
all
about that.
the links were hand carved, but it wasn't a traditional link style band. Like each link had like three different components that had to fit together. And then, that had to fit perfectly into the case of the watch. And then it also had to fit perfectly with the clasp. And it was just
Hmm.
one of the most complicated projects I ever did. And then on top of that, there's the engraving and there's stone setting. And I ended up customizing the case as well in the end. So, I mean, that project took me like a year to finish. Obviously, I was working on a bunch of other pieces at the same time. It wasn't just that piece for the whole year, but like, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't even know how many hundreds of hours went into that thing. So,
I'm gonna give a quick shout on that because I remember you talking about that in our deeper cuts video.
oh, yeah.
So There's a shout out for that video if anybody wants to watch it. But then I also want to ask, would you say that's one thing that one of your biggest learning lessons was that piece where you were like, why did I do that? I will never do that again. Or is there another experience you have where you were like, oh, that was just a disaster. Don't ever do that again. You know?
Those sort of projects I love because I am forced to problem solve, like I've never made a watch band before. I don't even know how they're really made. You know what I mean? So like I'm just gonna come up with the design and then figure out how to execute it as I go, And it was the same with I did a chalice that won an AGTA award back in 2017, a long time ago. But that was another project where I'm like, I've never made a chalice before. I don't know how to do this, but I'm gonna
Why
figure it
not?
out. And so you're like, it's like constantly experimenting. How are these pieces gonna work? How are they gonna fit together? How to create them? I had to like come up with, create new tools and new things, and ways of holding the work. And it was just like a whole learning process just to create this thing and these projects. So
Hmm.
those are like some of the most frustrating projects, but the most satisfying projects too, where it's kind of both. Like I look at them, I'm like, wow, I never want to do that again. But also I do, I would love
It's
to,
really
I would
rewarding.
love to do it again because it is just such a challenge. It just depends on where you're at with your headspace in your life. Like, are you up for the challenge? Like,
Yeah.
do you want to do this? Do you want to get into this kind of
Do you
project
want to
that,
cry yourself to
yeah,
sleep for months?
yeah, or do you want to just kind of make, simple things that you could just like create in a day or a couple of days?
Uh,
And yeah, it just all depends really where you're at.
you talked about how you still reach out to a lot of your connections in the industry. When you're working on a big project like that, what are your resources? Is it those people that you've made connections with? Is it books? Is it, universities? Where do you go for resources when you're working through a piece like
Yeah, all of the above, really, right? I
that?
mean, it's like I've got my stack of books here that I have from over the years. I have no problem calling somebody and being like, hey, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You're really good at this. Can you maybe give me some tips, and just being able to like accept the fact that you don't know everything and that you do need to ask for help sometimes. Things are going to be solved so much quicker, in these projects. But yeah, man, just don't be afraid to reach out. And I tell that to my students, I have students to this day that still contact me, and I tell them, don't be afraid to just reach out anytime. Like, don't think that I'm too busy. Maybe it'll take me a day or two to get back to you, but like, I'm here. I'm here for you, just
Yeah.
I'm here to help, because that's how my teachers were. I was really lucky enough to have some pretty incredible teachers over the years, and it just makes all the difference, just sharing the knowledge.
What do you hope your students leave with after taking a class with you?
The confidence to really begin wax carving or expand on their wax carving, but hopefully create the pieces that they've been dreaming up. You know what I mean? Because that's
Hmm.
what it was for me. It was like an awakening of like, oh my God, finally I can create these pieces that I've been thinking about for the last 10 years, So
Yeah.
that's what I really want is I want their minds to open up and feel like, finally I can create these pieces or these styles or whatever, these techniques. And then also leaving knowing that you have like a tight network of people that you can reach out to, just feeling confident with your wax carving skills, but also knowing that your community has expanded a little, and that you have
Mhm.
more resources in the community itself.
How were you approached about teaching, Liam?
Well, I had already been living in Portugal. I think it was the first year that I was living here. GRS reached out and asked if I wanted to have a conversation about possibly teaching there. I was super excited about it. This is something that I've always wanted to do, honestly, because like I said, I was lucky enough to have such amazing teachers, and I enjoy teaching. I love sharing the knowledge that I have. What I've noticed are people are very secretive about the knowledge that they keep, with this type of
Hmm.
stuff. It's amazing to see people light up when they have access to that kind of knowledge, because all they want to do is create too, and I want to see more amazing art in the world from everybody, so whatever I can do to help people create and express themselves, then yeah, that's what I want to do.
Thank you for spending time with us this morning. We hope you stay tuned for the newest episode of The Angle with our next instructor.